Hello and welcome to another episode of Worth Mind. I'm your host, Sushmita Ravi, and as always, we are excited to bring you conversations that inspire transformation not just in business, but within ourselves. At Worth Minds, we explore exclusive conversations with industrial leaders, luxury finance, and entrepreneurial icons shaping the future of leadership and success. Today's conversation shifts the focus inward. Joining me today is beautiful. Ms. Tamara Beydoun is a certified somatic trauma-informed health coach and a specialist in narcissistic abusive recovery work. And she also works with a functional medicine practitioner. Her work is about healing emotional wounds, mastering the nervous system, and guiding individuals to reclaim their personal power. Miss Tamara, we are truly pleased to have you with us today.
Thank you. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for inviting me to be on your show. What an honor.
Thank you. So let's start with a question. What led you into the world of trauma healing and personal transformation?
Oh, it's such a beautiful question, and I think it's a really good one. I would say I was around, I'm currently 54 years old, and I was in my late 40s. I was in a 31-year marriage, which felt really good and healthy. We've known each other all our lives. We spent a lot of time together. But there was something really, really stuck in my life. There was part of me that felt completely dead. I was not living my best life. I was happy, but there was something really missing. There was a very big stuckness. And I wanted to live my life differently. I mean, I was close to 50 and there was something missing and I couldn't understand what. And I was also very much becoming aware of certain patterns. Like I was very controlling, I was a perfectionist, I was a people pleaser. And it was just exhausting me. I could not carry on like that. I mean, I was really a perfectionist. Everything was, you can never succeed in being a perfectionist because you can never be perfect. You can never succeed in controlling other people's behavior. This is impossible. So it was extremely exhausting on myself. And plus, I mean, I also have three beautiful adult children. The relationship felt healthy, but again, there was a deeper need for a deeper connection. And I was curious. I was seeking something different. And that really started my own personal work in my own traumas, getting really curious about them, going through a lot of difficult moments, really opening Pandora's box, as they say. And once you open it, you can't go back. And it's not an easy journey, but it's also a journey of total freedom. You go through it, there's darkness, you connect to a lot of very difficult traumas, or some people have less difficult, but still they're traumas. And as long as we're carrying traumas that have not been resolved and have not been acknowledged, and have not been felt, they will always show up in certain patterns that keep us small and limit us in living our best lives. And I would say this is really my first journey. So the first really exposure was to work with nonviolent communication. And this is the work of Marshall Rosenberg. And it was really my first connection to my feelings and emotions. And by doing that and applying Marshall Rosenberg's work, which is a really very easy 4-step process, but extremely transformational when it comes to connecting with others, I started really seeing a shift in my relationship with my children. There was an ownership of how each one of us feels, and no one could question that. So that was very empowering. And obviously, you can apply it in business, you can apply it everywhere. And then the way you start communicating with people comes from a much more vulnerable and authentic place. So when you show up in authenticity and vulnerability, you're giving permission and safety to others to show up in the same way. So you end up building really, really much more beautiful connections. And then I also did a lot of work on self-compassion. And this is, to me, crucial. for any work on trauma, because we also have to understand that all these parts that we've carried, we call them protector parts, like the controlling part, like if people have also some, addictions with food, with shopping, all these parts are there to protect us. So instead of really, really looking at them and fighting them and resent them, we need to also show up and give them a space of compassion. Like they have been such incredible parts of who we were, and they have always been there to protect us. Protect us from what? Protect us from feeling excruciating pain when we were younger that we were not ready to feel. And now that we're older, we know it's safe to feel it. So these parts are invited to really step down. Like, I don't need to be controlling anymore. I'm safe now. So it's really, really beautiful work that is very self-compassionate and very transformational. And then when you see it that way, you soften towards all these parts. And I remember once I had a conversation with someone and they were telling me, yes, you're very controlling. And I said, yes, I am. And I'm so grateful to my controlling behavior. I grew up in a country where there was war. I had no control of day-to-day events. I was sexually abused. As a child, I had no control over these situations. And then I was in a 30-year, psychologically and mentally abusive relationship. I wasn't aware of that. So yes, these controlling parts protected me. And now that would like to say I'm a bit wiser and a bit more attuned to feeling my painful emotions, I know I'm safe. I've really, really, really given up this control in so many ways, or in so many parts of my life. I don't need it. And it just feels so freeing to be able to do that. But at the same time, to also be very compassionate to this controlling part that I had. So that's a long answer to your question.
No, that is beautiful. Thank you so much for taking us through your journey. It was very insightful. So let's move on. Your first answer, I can figure out there's an outline of positivity and positive psychology, which you are putting in your approach. So could you share how this aspect of positivity helps you in your coaching with visualization to empower individuals?
This is a beautiful question as well. So thanks for asking it. A lot of my work is actually based on positive psychology, and it really is important to integrate it into trauma work. And when we do that, we look at important, with my clients, I also invite them to complete a few forms, and one of them being a very simple form called the VIA survey, which is a survey of 25 character strengths. And they are all incredible strengths that we all carry. It's like a global language of character strengths. It's a very simple one. And then once they complete it, there's a ranking. And there's not one strength that is better than the other. They are all very good strengths. And your strengths can change throughout your life, throughout different chapters of your life. But what is important when I'm working with my clients is to get them to complete that. And we often work with the 5 signature strengths. The 5 signature strengths are the top 5 that they currently inhibit in their life. And these, for example, can be being creative or love of learning or being kind. So we look at the top 5, and whenever I'm working with them and whenever we finish a session, I always invite them to set a goal, a small, smart goal for the next session. And with that, I invite them to integrate at least 1 or 2 or 3 of these character strengths into their daily life and into their goal. Why is that? Because these character strengths, when we apply them in our lives, they bring us a certain alignment to ourselves that is very, very important to our core essence. So by inviting that, even when we're doing trauma work or doing any behavioral change work, which is what I do as a functional medicine health coach, it's really, really giving them the positivity and the motivation they need a reminder of what it feels like to be in a positive state. So this is very important. And then I also do a lot of work with meditation and visualization. And again, it's really, really, really changing the mindset slowly and gently from one of, being stuck in trauma to one that is very self-empowering, reminding my clients that they have a choice and they can control that choice. But the shift cannot happen from one day to the next. And we can be very patient with ourselves. And this is why self-compassion is so important, that it's okay to get it wrong and be really self-compassionate with that. And this is important as well in positive psychology. So working towards that with clients gives them, little baby goals. I mean, sometimes we can even set a small goal as researching a local gym. Or let's say they're feeling, I mean, now we have a big issue in our societies. People feel very disconnected. And we are social creatures. We need to be connected to other human beings. We're not meant to live in isolation. So a lot of the challenges clients come to me with are, they're feeling very lonely, they're feeling very alone. And this can lead to all sorts of health issues, psychological, physiological, mental. So, taking that as an example, we could set a small goal. The client would set a small goal as researching what events they could start attending, which would allow them to connect with others. That could be as simple as that. And this automatically kickstarts something more positive. They're waking up and there's a goal they're aiming for that is aligned with their core essence. And, this is how the work, happens and the change takes place. And, sometimes you just get a taste of that change and that's it. You're on a roll.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Thank you so much for putting such a complex idea in very simple terms and explaining to us. Especially, we just love how you help individuals with these 5 signature strengths, taking baby steps, small things at a time, which gives a drastic change. Thank you so much for sharing.
Other thing that is important to mention here, I do, as you mentioned in the introduction, a lot of work towards regulating and mapping the nervous system. So that also is very important for them to really, really start. I don't know, this is not really related to positive psychology, but we can integrate it. And what is the activation? Where am I in this nervous system? Am I now in survival mode? What brings me into rest or digest, which is the parasympathetic nervous system state? Reminding them that they have access to that, because we all get triggered, all of us. I mean, and it's becoming aware that this is happening. And instead of it taking over, what tools do I have to regulate my nervous system? Some people need to go to nature. Some people need to pet a dog. That we have a toolkit. And I encourage clients to go through that so they become aware of their activation. And what I really, really encourage clients, we really don't like ourselves when we're activated. And again, it goes back to being compassionate towards these activations. Because whenever we're activated, there's such an important message for us. Activation is a messenger. It's a messenger of some unhealed parts of us. So pause, be compassionate towards this activation. It's okay if you overreacted. It's okay. Be kind to yourself about it. And then get curious. What is happening there? Yeah.
Yeah, you put that very lovely. Thank you. So, and finally, we would like to know more about what's your next practice, what's your future vision for expanding this way?
So I have my vision. I work a lot with vision with my clients, and I think it's so important to have a vision in life. And, we can get excited about it. So my vision, I mean, I have my private coaching, which is going well, but something that, again, when I talk about being fully aligned, I'm fully aligned when I'm working part of a group. I don't like working alone. I like being with others. I like the power of different minds and how they work, bringing all that together in a retreat, in a workshop, magic happens when you have that. So really, really, my objective now is to focus more on becoming a facilitator or organizing my own workshops with others. In fact, I'm running a workshop in November, on the 1st and 2nd November, an introduction to self-compassion with a beautiful childhood friend who's been on a very similar path, Yasmin Beydoun, and we're doing it in Lisbon. So I want to do more of these workshops. I'm also growing my business to really do more group work. So I'm going to be starting in Geneva, but it can also be online, a narcissistic abuse support group, because there's such a need for that when someone's going through such a relationship, is in one or leaving one. It is so important to be in a support group of like-minded people who've been through similar experiences, because the experience itself is really, really crazy making. You think you're going crazy. And having people going through a similar experience validate what you're going through or are going through or have been going through is really an important part of healing. So I want to do more of that. And I also plan to either launch with someone, still to be confirmed, and it's not going to happen in the next year, my own podcast or do more podcast work.
Great.
So we can get the message out there. And I'm half Lebanese, half Palestinian. I've lived all my life outside Lebanon, most of my life. I would also like to bring the work I'm doing to my hometown. So especially when it comes to trauma work. So I'd probably be running workshops there at some point as well.
Yeah, that's great. You have a great vision and success in them. Once again, Ms. Tamara, thank you so much for being with us
Thank you
today
so
and
much.
sharing your expertise. And we again wish you success in your vision and your work. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope I'll join you next time when you're doing one of your in-person events. I know I couldn't this time in November, but hopefully next time I would. That's another part of my vision, to be there in person. So thanks a lot for this opportunity.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.
We believe personal mastery forms the foundation of leadership, healing from within, where true success begins. To all who listen, your growth is your legacy. This is Worth Minds. See you in the next episode. Thank you.